the beginning, there was light. But in the time before that, chaos raged. Oh, the infinite wonders of the abyss. If there's anything you don't like, you'll find it here. Most importantly, I have learned that the abyss is the darkling chaos from which all things come. This Genesis has nothing to do with good or evil, just pure, churning chaos in its simplest form. Who could have believed that the origin of life, of earth, of tree and stream, spawns from such turmoil? Yet, it is true. It is only through the imposition of order that the gods create, and they must work the stuff of chaos to build their thrones above man's domain. The demons resent this, and forever will they resist the shackles of law. Moonlight pours through the round skylight just above Tasha's head. As she ponders over an iron-bellied cauldron, dozens of candles sprawl across shelves and stones, their flames leaning toward her as she moves her hands with a wizard's grace. In her hands rests a book bound in demon hide and her own indulgences, the Demonomicon. Across the low table, Mordenkainen sits straight-backed, his gloved hands folded, eyes reflecting upon cauldron's simmering auroras. Pazunia, first, shall we? If you are willing to delve a little deeper, fingertips skating over a page of demonic-bound sigils, the plane of infinite portals, or more correctly, holes. She smiles, sharp in her typical egoic, although charming demeanor. Tasha tilts the book as the cauldron answers the pull of her transmutation sigil she just placed upon the tome's surface. The surface then blooms into a horizon of bruised dust, a wasteland pitted by vast, yawning craters, each circled by black fortresses and a vast river of souls that stretches in what appears like forever. I can't tell you how many times I've burned everything to the ground and started over. She laughs, almost to the book, almost to herself. Pazunia admires that in a soul. If you wish to travel to the abyss, Mordenkainen, for discovery, for the thrill, this is always the best bet, would you agree? And why wouldn't you? Every choice could land you in an abyssal treasure, or paradoxically, you could be the treasure one of the demon prince's prizes. Most of all, Mordenkainen's brow lifts but an inkling. Some scribes Tasha number and name the parts of the abyss, declaring that this demon lord or that rules a portion of the place. I question that statement. When your house is on fire, does it really matter what the flames look like in each room? I attest to that. Should you bother to give them names? What's most important is escaping and putting out any fire that clings to you. I see the benefit of the abyss to the ever-changing scales of balance. But really, Igwilf, I wouldn't spend as much time down there as you seem to. But, dearest, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. An opportunity for riches, for power, or perhaps just a fun little tale. She taps the Demonomicon with a lacquered nail. Now watch carefully. Pazunia is the gateway to these opportunities if you are as daring or as brave as I am. The Demonomicon's magic spurns as an illusion of an ancient red sun opens. Then the tale begins, with the retreat of the Queen of Chaos and the scattering of the Obiriths. The greater law, chaos, conflict, collapsed into the awkward stalemate between opposing philosophies that has more or less maintained itself until the current era. But some combatants could not give up the fight, for peace was not in their nature. Long after the planes at large had settled into an uneasy peace, demons and devils continued to destroy each other in vast numbers, their battles touching all of the lower planes and devouring countless generations. This conflict eventually became known as the Blood War, and its historical origins in the law-chaos conflict became less important to its participants than its tradition of endless brutality. While the foot soldiers and generals led the conflict on battlefields throughout the lower planes, the domestic front became embroiled in a conflict of its own. As powerful Tanari, who emerged from the deepest layers of the abyss as masters of their realms, began to squabble over who would assume rulership of all demon kind. At the same time, These Tanari scions scoured the whole of the abyss in search of surviving Oberiths, whom they murdered in great numbers in an attempt to erase them utterly from history. In time, it became clear that the Tanari were too numerous, too resentful, and too chaotic to unify under a single ruler. So the demons fell upon each other with zeal, initiating a conflict of demon versus demon that is no less brutal than the Blood War, for all its occasional subtlety. It is this conflict that defines the modern abyss and shapes the lives of its inhabitants. The top layer of the abyss is Pazunia, also known as the Plane of Infinite Portals, or the Palace of 1001 Closets. It is a realm of windswept barrens and jagged tors flickering with swarms of winged demons. An oppressive red sun, heavy with infinite age, bathes the layer in sweltering heat and harsh light. Angry shadows curtain the plains in places, concealing hidden menace. And everywhere are massive pits that plunge into deeper layers of terror. In the early days of the Age Before Ages, the Oberith demons sought to explore their home plane by brute force, tunneling deep into the surface of the Plane of Infinite Portals in an attempt to pierce the very heart of the abyss. The bottomless chasm that resulted from their ancient experimentation revealed countless portals to the deeper abyss, which the Oberiths fortified with great bridges and stone fortresses carved into the wall of the mighty shaft. Unlike some of the pits pocking Pazunia's surface, the portals of this so-called Grand Abyss uniformly allow travel in both directions, making the chasm a primary destination for explorers and a target of opportunity for ambitious demon lords seeking abyssal layers of their own. If anyone has ever reached the bottom of the Grand Abyss, they have not yet returned with tales of what can be found there. Due to its apparently infinite size, the Fraternity of Order classifies the Grand Abyss as a full-fledged layer of the abyss. The pits are portals to deeper layers of the abyss, so that those who descend into them soon find themselves in the associated layer. Most of these pits are two-way portals, but some are one-way, leaving no means of return. Leaping into a pit without knowing where it leads is as good a way as any to commit suicide on Pazunia, for the pits often lead to inhospitable layers filled with deadly environmental dangers. Some of the most remote layers of the abyss do not attach to Pazunia at all and are accessible only from stable gates on lower layers. On the edges of the great pits crouch massive iron fortresses, relics of the Oberiths now inhabited by mighty Tanari lords, who have not yet mustered the power to bend an entire layer to their wills. These warlike, scheming lords use special chambers within the fortresses to project themselves through the astral plane and onto material worlds, where they attempt to sway events and attract followers and cultists. When so engaged, their physical forms are rendered helpless, protected only by the iron fortresses of the Oberiths and the demons' own hordes of servitor creatures and pact-gained allies. The armies of the Abyss constantly clash with each other as the lesser demon lords jockey for position. They clash too with invading armies of devils from Bartor, for the layer is one of the primary fronts of the Blood War. The methodical Batizu know, as the Oberiths before them knew, that to control Pazunia is to control the whole of the abyss. Not all visitors to Pazunia come to fight. Because it is a gateway to most of the plane, the layer draws merchants, explorers, and occultists from around the Great Wheel, attracting the most diverse pilgrims of anywhere in the lower planes, let alone the abyss. The layer is self-contained, but is so large that huge sections of it remain essentially unexplored. If one walks far enough toward the horizon, they eventually find themselves in the bordering plane of Pandemonium or Hades, depending upon the direction they walk. Those traveling in other directions reach the edge of the layer, are teleported to the opposite edge, often without knowing that they have moved. Due to its lack of discernible borders, maps of Pazunia seldom attempt to encompass the whole layer. but instead focus upon a smaller section bounded by the iron fortresses of locally influential demon lords. More chaotic evil petitioners manifest as mains on Pazunia than upon any other layer of the abyss. Local demons hunt these creatures for food or press them into warbands, driving vast herds of petitioners through the pit gates and into the deeper abyss. Some remain on Pazunia to marshal the defences of demon lords inhabiting iron fortresses. Demons view these pitiful creatures as little more than living shields and sacrifice them with impunity. Many mains willingly flee down unexplored pits, merely to escape their pursuers. Moliday gangs wander the layer, picking off stragglers and collaring them to the town of Styros, there to depart upon the river Styx to the lower planar battlefields of the Blood War. The massive, two-headed Tanari seldom take on demon lords entrenched in iron fortresses, but they eagerly thrust wandering, unaffiliated demons into their press gangs. Moliday are also tasked with provisioning the army and demand tribute from all they encounter. Those who cannot give are immediately conscripted and sent to Styros and thence to the raging wars of the lower plains. A surprising number of merchants, mortals, and outsiders alike brave the treacherous plain of infinite portals, for Pazunia's gates lead to unparalleled business opportunities. Those who fly the flag of the Dark Prince Grazist enjoy the best protection against banditry, but even this is far from foolproof. Countless stable gates connect the layers of the abyss to each other and to other planes. These portals range in appearance from simple doorways to natural arches, in rock formations to the mighty pits of Pazunia. Many take the form of sculpted marble arches inlaid with profane bas-reliefs or diabolical sigils. If you know where you're going, the gates of the abyss can take you just about anywhere in the multiverse. Most abyssal portals are transparent, revealing an image of what's on the other side. Others are shrouded in mist or flickering flames that offer only a hint at where they lead. Some rare few are opaque, revealing absolutely nothing about the destination beyond. The great majority of abyssal gates are two-way portals, meaning travelers can walk back and forth from both sides with relative ease. Others allow travel in only one direction and are thus much more dangerous when they exit onto an inhospitable plane or layer. Evil creatures are often drawn to these portals in order to waylay planewalkers or to worship the fell creatures that spill out of them. Even those that lead to the relative safety of the material plane often empty out into subterranean temples dedicated to demonic cults, making a clean escape from the abyss nearly impossible. When a soul becomes an abyssal petitioner, it often loses all memory of its mortal life. Through concentration, advancement through the demonic forms, and certain magical rituals, a demon might regain these memories. But most petitioners do not live long enough to become demons, and most demons do not care to regain their once cherished memories. Abyssal lore holds that the forsaken memories of petitioners and demons, slain before their time, linger in the folds of the unholy abyss, where they yearn to be remembered once more. Many believe this to be the cause of memory fog, a bizarre supernatural phenomena that plagues certain layers of the abyss. Tasha again hooks a lacquered nail beneath a ribbon of flayed silk and coaxes the Demonomicon forward. The vellum sighs, dry, while the spine releases a soft, stitched creak. Lines of the tome then sharpen into cramped marginalia that twitch before lying still in front of her. A gust from the skylight rolls through the room. The candle flames bend toward the cauldron, her perfume filling the room, as firelight encompasses the tome. Across the spread, an illuminated initial unfurls into hooked horns and a gnashing maw. Beneath it, the heading bleeds into clarity within the illusion, and before Mordenkainen. Chapter 2. Demonic Denizens. The Lord of the Lower Aerial Kingdoms, Pazuzu has ruled the skies of Pazunia since before the fall of his Oberith fellows. Countless chasm, vrox, and other flying demons that perch atop the jagged tors and pinnacles of Pazunia pay obeisance to Pazuzu and occasionally snatch travelers from the surface as sacrifices to their prideful lord. Many travelers traveling on Pazunia risk a chance of attracting Pazuzu's attention. Each day they remain on the layer, for the winged demon is always on the lookout for new innocents to corrupt and ultimately devour. In some cases, Pazuzu waits until goodly travelers are in a difficult bind before sweeping in at the last minute and offering to help the unfortunate travelers in exchange for some unspeakable service. He pays little attention to the other demon lords of the layer and seldom interferes with their business or their iron fortresses. Like Pazuzu, the reclusive demon princess Aldenach delights in the perversion of the pure and innocent, but her methods are not quite so subtle. The Lady of Change commands a growing cult upon several material plane worlds that concerns itself with the abduction of righteous, holy figures, or sacred beasts such as Kirins or Lamassus. These pitiful creatures soon find their way to Aldenach's egg on the edge of the Grand Abyss, where they endure vile experiments that corrupt their nature and enslave them to her capricious whims. Aldenach appears as a lithe, humanoid woman with polished mahogany skin and long fingers that end in needles she uses to inject putrid sap into the subdued bodies of her victims. An alabaster mask obscures her monstrous face. When the great demon prince Fraz-Urbelu was imprisoned on the material plane by the mad archmage Zagig Irigern, several opportunistic demon lords flocked to his abandoned lair, Hollow's Heart, hoping to make it their own. The ambitious minor demon lord Baltazo, a retired general with several blood war victories under his ever-expanding belt, knew he could not hope to command Hollow's Heart, but he saw opportunity in the growing conflict. Instead of staking his own claim, he instead conquered the iron fortress of Schullengat, on the precipice of the pit leading to Fraz-Urbelu's lair. Commanding this gateway allowed him to subtly influence the affairs on the layer, affording him prestige elsewhere in the abyss. Upon Fraz-Urbelu's return, the Prince of Deception wiped out most of the rival demon lords squabbling over his lair, but he saw value in a strong defense of the Pazunia gate. The two demons came to an agreement, and Baltazo now stands sentinel over the pit to Hollow's Heart as a sponsored vassal of Fraz-Urbelu, for whom he sometimes acts as a diplomat or interlocutor. Baltazo appears as an extremely corpulent human man with an elongated face and deep green skin that constantly fizzles and pops, spilling a variety of sickly fluids upon a poor-fitting military uniform festooned with dozens of ostentatious medals and ribbons. Tasha lets the ribbon fall and turns the page deeper. The Demonomicon's weight shifts as a demonic cry emanates through the room. A cry and shriek all in one, the two wizards brace themselves against the onslaught, the two raising their arms calming the tome through a juxtaposed combination of abjuration magic. Chapter 3. Locales of Pazunia. Aldenach's cultists bring their abducted charges to this ovoid iron fortress, where the wood-skinned Lady of Change warps them into twisted mockeries of paladins, unicorns, and exemplars of pure good they used to be. Although these victims are occasionally crippled with remorse over what they have become, they cannot fight their new natures long, and soon give in to overwhelming rage and deviousness. Those strong enough to survive the rigors of Pazunia fiercely defend the territory within a mile of Aldenach's egg. The weakest are eaten by the layer's countless demons. The egg itself is a towering structure packed with grim laboratories, operating theatres, and hideous audience chambers draped in the skins of failed experiments. Aldenach occasionally tolerates visitors who offer technology or magical lore that allows her greater malleability over her patients, but has little patience for those who do not share her enthusiasm for perverse surgeries. Guests who tarry too long are fed to the Brethren, a score of chaos beasts who dwell in the egg's uppermost forbidden chambers. A succubus sorceress named Red Shroud built a fortress, named Broken Reach, consisting of crumbling stone towers atop a portal to the Outlands gate town of Plague Moor over 200 years ago, and the small community that soon grew up around it has served as one of the most popular gathering places on the layer ever since. The guests of Broken Reach include Blood War mercenaries, merchants coming to and from the plane of concordant opposition, and even mortal adventurers enjoying one of the few places on Pazunia where they are unlikely to be devoured by demons. Red Shroud displays little tolerance for violence of any kind on her grounds, but death matches occur with regularity beyond the rickety walls. Broken Reach houses dozens of visitors at any one time, many of them enjoying the relative comfort of richly appointed and hugely expensive luxury suites. Red Shroud knows her clientele, and hence the demons of Broken Reach have scoured through Pazunia and other layers of the Abyss for a huge variety of weapons and armor. The demoness is a great poison enthusiast and offers a wide selection of venoms from the deepest pits of the Abyss. Such is her love of the stuff that more often than not, the halls are filled with guests who offer her new lethal substances that could assist for her expanding her territory or resisting other demon lords from her domain. Conflicting reports are strewn throughout the Demonomicon. However constant, marginalia refer to Red Shroud as constantly on edge, for she has had to defend the citadel from mobs, Githzerai, and even a minor Abyssal lord or two. The Lakes of Molten Iron is a series of steaming crucibles providing the iron that composes most of the weapons and all of the fortresses of Pazunia, making the surrounding area one of the most fiercely contended regions on the layer. The lakes range in colour from scalding white to scorching red, emitting waves of heat that make for a difficult approach. A marginal note in the Demonomicon states, "Do not present yourself in the way of demons transporting the iron. Many who have meet a quick demise." The abandoned town of Razorforge, on the banks of the largest lake, is home to scores of magma mephits, who once aided in a massive forging operation here, but who escaped when an entropic ship of chaos destroyed most of the community. Demons shun the site, making it one of the safer locales on Pazunia. The Iron Fortress Ferrug on the opposite shore couldn't be more different. It swarms with herds of Armonites, murders of Vrox, and countless ravenous manes led by a willful Marilith named Gelisheth. The bruise-purple waters of the river Styx flow throughout the plain of infinite portals, breaking into numerous tributaries that disappear into the gaping pits, and thence to lower layers of the Abyss. Some reverse waterfalls rush out of the portals and feed the river, which also stretches away to both Pandemonium and the grey waste of Hades. The sullen, muddy garrison town of Styros marks the point of embarkation for the Molidius captured demons, forced to serve in the armies of the Blood War. The unfortunates are herded onto massive, fast-moving riverboats, powered by the combustion of souls, spitting cloying ash into the acrid air out of crude smokestacks. Babau officers abound here, abusing their charges with threats and random beatings. Strangers require some quick thinking and a great deal of cash to escape Styros without being thrown into the slave pens of a battlefield-bound war hulk. A series of rose-hued marble pillars leads to the Iron Fortress of Vanelon, which guards the pit leading to Shendilavri, domain of the succubus queen Malcanthet. Whereas most citadels of Pazunia reflect the bizarre architectures of the ancient Oberiths, Malcanthet has embellished Vanelon with sweeping towers and magnificent facades that would make it fit in the most romantic of material plane kingdoms. Such beautiful style belies the structure's role as home to her favoured consort, an ever-changing council filled by whatever minor demon lord manages to strike her fancy at the moment. Its current occupant is Mastafal, the hunting sovereign. a handsome fiend with bright red skin, 4 arms, and a rack of ibex horns upon his angular forehead. The calculating demon lord gained Malcanthus' favour by presenting her with the head of a huge fiendish Smilodon slain on the hunting fields of Sparak, Layer 71, but his audiences with Shendelavri's seductress have become less and less frequent recently, and Masterfal is willing to do anything to regain her attention. Many tales regard his servitor Glabrezu and his wild fits of rage as he zealously patrols the pit's perimeter, bringing any interlopers to the Lord's trophy-bedecked audience chamber. Some reports note that he once was enamored with a famous Abyssal wildebeest, which only once in the Iron Fortress has stopped him from enacting cruel punishments on petitioners to Pazunia, since a part of him longs to be free of the walls of Vanillon and back on the hunt. A hush fell as both wizards of the Wizards 3 raised their hands over the demonic tome. Tasha sketches a quick, laughing curve in the air with an elegant poise. Mordenkainen answered her perfection with a measured counterstroke. 2 sigils, her glyph a barbed spiral, his a crystalline hex, interlock and bloom into a tracery of cold blue abjuration. The vision in the cauldron buckles, folds, and smooths into an almost regular tome. The Demonomicon bristles as together they press their palms down upon the tome. The spine creaks, the pages draw, with the tome accepting the command, its will satiated. Moonlight, through the skylight, slides across their faces. The remaining smoke curls up and away, taking with it the smell of lilies and decay. Mordenkainen then releases his breath, as if he had been holding it far longer than he wished. This chapter is enough for this evening, don't you concur, Tasha? If you say so, dearie, she then concedes, tapping the cover. As she turns, she whispers a statement just under her breath. Those who do not know of the abyss will think it twisted. Those who were shaped by its torturous ways will find it comforting. I once did, as in an unknowable face we paint meaning so as not to see into it truly. Perhaps I will always be alone in this discovery of the infinite layers.